Banana plantlets imported to fight black sigatoka bearing fruit literally. Head of a key agency in the emergency services admits there's an urgent need for more ambulances. And Dominica joins the Caribbean Council for the Blind to set up a fight against diabetes-related blindness. I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. The details coming up. We begin with this story as Dominican youth are being called upon to use their skills and talents to help preserve and develop Dominica's culture. Andrea Louis reports.
The call came from Product Promotions Manager of the Discover Dominica Authority when she addressed the launching of the Miss Teen Dominica pageant on Wednesday. The DDA official urged the ladies to use pageantry to develop life skills.
It expands one's horizon to view ideas from various forms. The interviewing and articulation skills that you will acquire during this pageant process will assist you in all areas of your life when applying for a job, for college. All of these areas, all the acquired skills will prove to be very successful for you in terms of its usefulness. The pageant also affords you the opportunity to contribute towards the development and preservation of Dominica's culture and heritage. Therefore, I urge you ladies to enjoy the experience.
The Miss Teen Dominica pageant in its 39th year is organized by the Waitukubuli Dance Theatre Company. Artistic director of the company says the pageantry experience can benefit the participants on an academic level.
Events like this support the visual and performing arts program, which is now being taught in schools, and some of the students may even go on to do CXC exams in some of these art forms. The teen pageant is about the promotion of youth talent and youth dreams. It's a showcase of talent and skills of our young people, and the contestants should focus more on what they have gained from the show in terms of experience, rather than whether their school wins or doesn't win. Another thing is we should see the show not so much as a competition, but as a celebration of the talent of our youth.
The 7 contestants for the Miss Teen Dominica 2016 pageant are Tiffany Ailwa of the Portsmouth Secondary School, Tatiana Dangleben from the Convent High School, Imelda Boston representing the Dominica Grammar School, Marcella Green of the Goodwill Secondary School, Lisa Samuel representing St. Martin Secondary School, Nadej Baba of the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and Natora Francis representing the Pierre Charles Secondary School. The show, being held under the theme Celebrating the Dream, starts at 5 p.m. at the Carnival Village at the Stadium Forecourt. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
In other news, a decrease in school bands and floats for this year's Carnival opening parade. However, new groups will be featured on the route. Friday is the last call to register to participate in the parade.
This year for a parade, it looks very promising. We have about 6 advertising floats. We have 6 Lapo Cabrit bands. We have about 5 sensei groups, including the Darkies and so from Good Hope. We have about 4 cheerleading groups. We have our band movie from Qualiho. They are back, and we are very grateful that they are back. We are very grateful that they are taking part in the opening. We have the usual pageant groups. Some of our new bands will have their costumes on parade as a form of advertising as well. We're asking them also to call the DFC to confirm with us your participation.
Christian has warned that only those registered with the Dominica Festivals Committee will be allowed to parade on the floats. Only floats with pageant contestants are allowed to enter Carnival City.
This year we don't have as many school floats and school bands as we have had in the past, because we know with Erica, school started late and a lot of schools were not ready to prepare their floats and bands. So this year we are only having 3 primary school floats, St. Mary's Primary, Roseau Primary, and Pioneer Prep. We are only having 2 primary school bands, the Convent Prep and the Sansove Primary School, 1 secondary school band, the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and we will be having a float from the Dominica State College. So basically for our Monday Youth Mass, these are the groups that we have so far.
The Ministry of Agriculture officials are encouraging the Ministry of Trade to be prepared for banana exports. A tour of the Northeast proves that banana plantlets brought into Dominica last year are flourishing. Lurian Graham Carter reports.
A delegation from the Ministry of Agriculture visited farms at Calibishi and Castlebruce last week to get first-hand updates on banana tissue culture resistant varieties imported from France. Currently, 13.5 acres of land is being used for tissue culture bananas in Calibishi. An extension officer for the Woodford Hill to Penville area says he's encouraged by the work put out by the tissue culture farmers. He says government should be prepared for exports.
And for export, we'd have to go back and certify these farmers. So we have to do what we have to do very quickly. But I want to encourage the minister and every one of us that are working. There's a good focus for us in future. God is a good God. When we planted those plants, people were skeptical, but God sent rain. And just as He sent rain, He's going to send rain for those plants we have coming ahead.
Bernard Joseph, an experienced banana farmer, says he's very happy about the yield from the plantlets, especially since he was the last to plant on August 21st, 2015.
When I get my plant, small plant, and I take care of it. So I dig my hole, I me alone carry my plant and plant all my things, plant it with fertilizer, and I get wildlife after, you know. So I'm happy with my field now, how we're going.
The Minister for Agriculture says he's heartened to know that right now the focus will be on exporting quality bananas to regional and international markets.
I visited a farm where quite a few of the bananas are in bunch. The sleeving and the ribbon, different color ribbon, have already been in place. The ministry will engage itself with Dexia and the Ministry of Trade to ensure that every bunch of banana meets the standard and is ready for local market and for export.
In other news, increased efforts got underway here Thursday towards reducing the number of cases of blindness linked to diabetes. Andrea Louis tells us more.
This was the aim of a one-day workshop organized by the Ministry of Health and held in collaboration with the Caribbean Council for the Blind and the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust. The objective is to enable Dominica to step up its diabetic retinopathy screening and treatment programs within its public health system. Acting Hospital Medical Director says Dominica is fighting an upward battle with the increase in non-communicable diseases.
These conditions have contributed to a dramatic change in the morbidity and mortality profile of Dominica and are a leading cause of hospital admissions and loss of productivity. Diabetic retinopathy therefore presents a significant challenge to Dominica's health system and the community at large. And the country must respond aggressively to avert a major impact on the country, including the country's economy.
Dominica was commended for the work it has done thus far in creating a template for screening for diabetic retinopathy.
Dominica has played a unique role in advancing the business of screening for diabetic retinopathy for more than 10 years now. Actually, Dominica produced the first pilot in the Caribbean, and it is that pilot which began more than a decade ago under the leadership of Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts that produced the technical template on which we have been able to persuade the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust and indeed the other international partners to join with us in beginning a slow but deliberate march toward ensuring that every country in the Commonwealth space, in the CARICOM space, has a strong screening, referral and treatment program.
Diabetic retinopathy is a diabetes complication that affects the eyes. It is caused by damage to the blood vessels of the light-sensitive tissue at the back of the eye. A strengthened health system in addressing the challenges posed by the NCD epidemic is on the cards for the Dominica health sector.
The plan includes 1. The development of an integrated approach for disease control, human resource development, as well as infrastructure and technology development at various levels of the health system. 2. Advocacy for promoting Vision 2020. And 3. establishing partnerships to mobilize additional resources. To reduce blindness from diabetic retinopathy, the plan seeks to establish an accurate national register of diabetes in collaboration with the Diabetes Association.
Currently, more than 350 million people around the world have diabetes. Of that number, close to 105 million, or 30%, has some form of retinopathy. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
You're watching Channel 5 News. Coming up, firemen receive training in aviation firefighting at Douglas Charles Airport. A recent situation where an ambulance was unavailable to respond to an ailing man in the streets of the city has brought to the fore the need for more ambulances. Here's more in this report.
The shortage of ambulances for the fire and ambulance service is threatening the effective response to emergencies. Even if Fire Chief Josiah Dupe says a new ambulance for the St. Joseph Health District recently means that there is now 100% coverage for all 7 health districts, he admits that there is need for additional ambulances. There is only one ambulance for the Roseau Health District, which covers Grand Soufriere to Campbell. To compound the problem, the Princess Margaret Hospital does not have an ambulance of its own.
If we look at the data and you see the number of calls that are coming from some of the stations, and you also factor in the distance of those districts from to our major health facility, the Princess Margaret Hospital, one can appreciate that there is certainly need for additional ambulances at those stations so that we can offer better coverage based on the needs of our citizenry. We think initially what would be ideal would be for us to have a second ambulance at Fire Brigade Headquarters at the Portsmouth Fire Station.
This inconvenience for emergency response personnel was clear when our cameras captured a known homeless man based in Roseau needing medical attention because he was suffering from pains in the leg. He was lying on the ground near the market for over 3 hours at the time Channel 5 News came on the scene. Onlookers called the ambulance service to report the matter, and there was what one would call a good Samaritan who tried hitching a ride to get the man to the Princess Margaret Hospital.
In passing this morning about something after 8, I observed Mr. Buffon on the side taking a little rest. But in the rest he taking, I see he get a bit drowsy and he end up falling and so forth. So he lying on the side there in the sun and whatnot. I tried calling the ambulance, but the ambulance told me is out at Antrinzen presently now. They're going to get a cancer patient. I tried to get Red Cross. Red Cross tell me we have to inform them at least a day in advance, within 24 hours. So they can't just come and pick him up right away. I'm trying to see if I could get a transport on the roadside to take him to the hospital. And so I just called the police. The police say they're going to see what they do and whatnot. But he's in a very critical condition, as you can see.
As it relates to the response time for an emergency, the fire chief says he does not accept his staff taking more than a minute to leave their station once an ambulance is available after an incident has been reported.
Response time from the station upon receipt of call should be 1 minute, and we pride ourselves in remaining true to that on every single call. However, because of this point which I just spoke to, the issue of one ambulance per station, invariably, like the case you just referred to, you're going to have an ambulance out responding to a particular call, and at the same time, somebody else is calling for the ambulance. And we hope that never happened, but it has happened. We are aware of that. And this is part of the reason why it impacts on our response time. That's why we say, ideally, it would be best if we had a second ambulance. And that is not to say that this will not occur again, but certainly the frequency of it happening would certainly be reduced if we had additional ambulances.
In some circumstances, emergency response personnel at Roseau have had to use ambulances in neighboring health districts to get to emergency cases. Idona John Baptist, Channel 5 News.
An over $100,000 training program for fire officers will come to an end here on Friday. Here's more.
21 employees of the Fire and Ambulance Department are being trained in aviation firefighting at the Douglas Charles Airport. Minister for National Security says continued training for those involved in the essential services augurs well for Dominica as an emerging state.
Currently, we have 28 fire officers who are being trained in aviation firefighting at the Douglas Charles Airport at the cost of $145,000. And I feel that is important for a small emerging state, more so after a monster storm, Erika, and we should be glad for that. We're also happy that we're benefiting from the expertise of 5 trainers, 4 of them from the United States of America and 1 from Canada, because we have to ensure that our airport standard is maintained at all times.
The Chief Fire Officer says when the training is complete, the fire department will have its full complement of officers.
Training remains very critical because we have a very young and dynamic fire service, and it is important that there is investment in those younger persons. As people like myself age and have to get out of the system, we need our young officers to basically learn as much as possible the traits of the job so that the fire service itself will not just be well, but will be better than it is today in the future. Currently our establishment is 130. Our actual numbers is a lot less than that. That is why we are looking at 21 persons to bring us to our full complement.
DP says aviation training for the fire officers will help the airports maintain their international certification.
What this training seeks to do is to give the officers, expose them to certain material, information that would enable fire officers at the station, Melville Hall, Canefield, and even some officers that are currently deployed elsewhere but who are likely to be deployed at Melville Hall, to give them these skills and basically get them certified as practitioners who can function at the airport. This is a critical element because if you don't have a certain percentage of the complement at the airport with current certification, it has a bearing on the certification of the airport itself with regard to aviation coverage. So this is very important, very timely, and we are very, very excited about what is happening at Melville Hall.
Recruitment training for the fire and ambulance department is expected to start soon.
And the Minister for Agriculture is reporting the testing of the National Abattoir as a success. Lurian Graham Carter reports on that.
Testing of the abattoir began in November 2015 with 4,000 chickens and 200 pigs over a 3-week period. In November, the minister had announced that the abattoir would be providing chicken to supermarkets for Christmas, and they delivered on that promise.
Of the 4,000, 3,800 birds went through the facility. And if you're not careful, you would believe that the testing of the chicken was a failure. Yet still, we were able to sell to the supermarkets. We were able to sell on our own at the marketplace. We were able to donate a consignment of chicken and pork to every needy institution on the island as a form of marketing in preparation for the abattoir. And everybody who bought chicken coming out of the abattoir said that the meat was tender and nice.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister told Focus on Development that the Ministry of Agriculture is its own biggest enemy.
The staff, the director, the PS, the minister, the extension officers, because I do not think they speak about the programs that they're having and explaining and informing the country enough. Because there's so many things happening in agriculture, and there's so many things that have been happening in agriculture. There are so many things which continue to happen in agriculture, but the fact is not many people in the country know them. I mean, those of us who are farmers may be aware, those of us in the government system may be aware. But I think that the officials must create an avenue whereby they inform the public more about what's happening in agriculture.
The Prime Minister is actually right. I have said it to the officers themselves at the heads of department meeting that they are doing so much in agriculture, yet still they are allowing a few persons with nothing to do to dominate the airwaves. Yes, because they are not talking about what is happening within their own department.
Meanwhile, the minister says the initial testing of the abattoir is over and the adjustments will be done to the facility to be open soon.
That's news. Your sports highlights next with Kenny Williams.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Sports Report. Cricket takes the first knock. The secondary schools under-20 cricket championships begin Friday with a ballorama at Windsor Park. The sports coordinator is UD John.
The 2016 United Insurance Secondary Schools under-20 cricket championship opens tomorrow, Friday, January 15th at Windsor Park Stadium. The opening will take the form of a ballorama to determine the national house champion. And tomorrow we will have 5 teams from the Castlebrook Secondary School, the George House, from the Northeast Comprehensive School, the Cicero House, from the Portsmouth Secondary School, Christy Alfred House, from the Pierre Charles Secondary School, the Balata House, and from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, the Wallace House.
In cricket from the region, Windward's Volcanoes forced Guyana Jaguars to settle for second place in Group B of the Nagico Super 50 with a 2-wicket win on Wednesday. Volcanoes won the toss and decided to field. Mervyn Matthew and Kyle Mayers ripped through the Guyana top order to leave them struggling at 25 for 5 on the 11th over. Then Royston Cardon scored 68 to help Guyana reach 209 for 9. Windward similarly found themselves in a shaky position earlier on in the chase at 35 for 4 before Sonal Ambrose fought back with 56. At one point, victory seemed uncertain as Volcanoes needed 54 of 27 balls with only 2 wickets in hand. However, the efforts of Shane Shillingford 21 and Kieran Cotoy 23 stunned Guyana by knocking off the remaining runs in a space of 24 balls. Volcanoes ended on 210 for 8. Still in Group B of the Nagico Super 50, Leeward Island Hurricanes secured their first win in the Super 50 tournament to claim a 14-run victory over combined campuses and colleges in St. Kitts. Bonner and Hodge scored 79 and 66 respectively to help Hurricanes reach 242 for 8 after being sent in. Vikash Mohan got the CCC chase going with 79 of 96 balls, but that wasn't enough and CCC collapsed on 228. Moving over to Trinidad, Craig Brathwaite scored an unbeaten 86 in his first match back from the West Indies tour of Australia as Barbados saw a 4-wicket win over ICC Americas at Queen's Park Oval. ICC Americas first at the crease set the pace at 202 all out. Brathwaite's 86 came after Barbados were reduced to 0 for 2 in response to ICC America's first innings score. Barbados clocked out on 206 for 6. Meantime, TNT Red Force played to an impressive 7-wicket victory over Jamaica Scorpions at Shaw Park. Jamaica was held at 176 after winning the toss and batting, as Devon Thomas was the lone star of the innings. Evan Lewis continued his solid form in the competition by scoring a century before retiring on 102. Red Force ended on 177 for 3. Going now to Chittagong, where the West Indies under-19 suffered a 171 runs defeat complements the Bangladesh team. The Windies rivals batted first to score 299 for 5. The West Indies team resisted their opponent's bowling attack as best as they could, but were all out on 128. And in the third test between South Africa and England, the South Africans racked up 267 for 7 on the first day of their test, with Dean Elgar scoring 46 and Asim Amla 40. We'll have more details on that in a future sportscast. Moving on to football, there were 2 wins and 1 draw in action from Division 1 League Wednesday.
In Group 1, Wacky Rollers crushed Glanvilla Renegades 7-3 at the Benjamin Park in Portsmouth. Dion Dinard and Janet Charles each found the back of the nets twice for Wacky Rollers, with 1 each coming from Markel Badwill, Kimon Stedman and Delvin Gist. Kurt Hector and Nigel Montoot scored for Renegades, with the other goal coming from a Wacky Rollers player. In Group 2, Petro Caribe Point Michel dropped their first points for the season as they played to a 1-1 draw with Harlem United at the Pori playing field. Bert Kazimi scored for Point Michel, with Myron Joseph scoring for Harlem. And in Group 3, Cubchis Barbershop Bath Estate suffered their first defeat for the season as they went down by 2-1 against East Central in the second match of a doubleheader at the Pori playing field. Elton Mack and Michael Gasper scored for East Central, with Denzel Lawrence scoring for Bath Estate.
Meantime, 3 matches are scheduled for Friday.
On Friday, Maosuka Strikers will come up against MV Max and Obamas at 6 p.m. at the Benjamin Park, while in a doubleheader at the Newtown playing field, All Saints Football Club will battle ACS Tarish United at 5 p.m., while at 7 p.m. Trafalgar Football Club will take on Element Agency's LA Stars.
And finally, Action continued in the secondary schools volleyball championships when Pierre Charles Secondary and Dominica State College faced off on Thursday.
Dominica State College bested Pierre Charles Secondary 3-1. The final scores were 16-25, 25-19, 20-25, and 16-25. Then the male teams took to the court, battling to a 3-0 finish. State College dominated the sets with 25-16, 25-15, and 25-15.
That's all the time we have for sports. I am Kenny Williams. Join us again tomorrow.
Coming up, your weather report.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. Patches of low-level clouds continue to move across the islands of the Eastern Caribbean today, with Dominica observing increasingly cloudy skies and radar imagery indicating limited or no shower activity across the island. For tonight, the weather is expected to be partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with brief showers, and similar conditions can be expected into tomorrow. Sea conditions are expected to be moderate in open water with waves peaking near 8 feet. Small craft operators and sea beavers should continue to exercise caution. For the next 3 days, expect only brief showers across the island, and for the remainder of the Caribbean tomorrow, occasional cloudy skies and brief showers can be expected. For the international cities forecast, mostly cloudy skies in New York, thunderstorm activity in Miami, clear skies in London, and partly cloudy skies in Caracas and Beijing. The sun will rise tomorrow at 6:45 a.m. and set at 5:55 p.m. For additional information, feel free to contact us at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.
To end the news, the headlines again. Banana plantlets imported to fight black sigatoka, bearing fruit literally. Head of a key agency in the emergency services admits there's an urgent need for more ambulances. And Dominica joins with the Caribbean Council for the Blind to step up the fight against diabetes-related blindness. Email us at news@MarpinNewsJan14th2k16. You can watch our past newscasts on our YouTube page. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.